So I saw you're keen surfer. Did you start doing that as a kid?
Yeah, I did it from a pretty early age. Was always sort of down the beach, grew up around the beach. Um, so I started out bodyboarding, and I think started surfing when I was about 9 or 10. But they have this. I was part of a surf club down there in Manly growing up. So I was doing like surf life saving stuff from about the age of 5 or 6. So yeah, been doing it for most of my life really.
That's cool. And can you do it all year round down there, or
You know?
yeah,
Yeah, do it all year round. Winter the water gets a bit chilly, but probably not too different to here to be fair. So just chuck a wetsuit on and you're all right.
but yeah, for a good part of the year you can jump in a pair of togs.
Yeah, straight in the boardies. Or budgie smugglers are getting popular these days around the beach. So you see a fair few of them cutting about.
Yeah, that's nice. I grew up in the west of Ireland. I went surfing once or twice, but even in the height of summer, you're in a wetsuit and it's freezing.
Yeah.
Like,
I've had a good friend of mine. He actually went over Ireland and did a bit of surfing over there. Some good waves about. So you get some big swell through there.
yeah, it is good. It is good. I enjoyed it, but yeah, it's freezing all the time there. It never gets hot. And do you ever do it like competitively, or is it just like a bit of fun?
I did join a long, what do they call it, like a board riders club. I think at 14 or 15 with a couple of mates, and once a month they'd have a competition on. Never did very well, but it was always a bit of fun and have a sausage, like a barbecue after on the beach, and hang out with your mates, which is good fun. But other than that, that was just a bit of fun. Nothing too serious.
Nice. And then how'd you get started in rugby?
So I was playing soccer early. I was always a fan of rugby. My dad's a Kiwi, so I used to watch a lot. He played as well. But I started. Mum didn't let me. Well, originally was a bit against the rugby idea, so I was playing soccer, and then I think just because I loved the game and was a big fan of it, I sort of just kept pushing. And then like a lot of my mates started playing, and then this under 10s was my first year. And yeah, she said got to wear a headgear, and she'll let me play. So had the scrum cap and all that. The Todd Kefu scrum cap, I think it was. So and then that's when I started.
Nice one. And then was rugby kind of your favorite? Do you crack on with that and stick to that? I suppose main one outside like surfing and that stuff.
Yeah, that was the main one. After that, I did. I was playing probably 3 times a weekend. Play a bit of league during when I was in primary school. You play that midweek, and then we play club and school, and then for Manly reps on the weekend. Sometimes sort of 4 games a week or 3 games a week in the weekend. So don't know how I did that, but obviously when you when you're 11 and 12, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. When you're a young fella, you don't seem to get hurt at all. You can just keep going and
No.
going.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you just the body doesn't seem to be quite as sore after the game. So
No.
yeah.
And then I think as you're a teenager, you hear these older people who are complaining about their body. You're like, what are they on about? Like, this is
Yeah,
easy.
I know. Yeah, I know. You're still sore on the Monday. What are they talking about?
Yeah. And how long did you play league for? Or was that just a bit of fun?
Yeah, it was just in primary school. That was all they didn't have a rugby union team. They just had a league team. So I did that for 2 or 3 years, just during the week.
Nice one.
So yeah, it was more rugby. I was more of a fan of and watched it more and was probably more my game.
And then when did it start getting kind of serious, or when did you start kind of thinking I'm gonna stick at this and make a go of it?
Um, probably when I finished school. So I was playing at school. Didn't play any representative teams or anything. Like when I was at school, we had a really good Manly rep team that I was in. That played in for a while from about under 11s or 12s to about under 15s or 16s. We had guys like Michael Hooper and Ben Volavola, who plays for Fiji. Another guy, Sam Lane, whose dad was assistant coach of the Wallabies when they won the World Cup, Tim Lane, and played a bit of Super Rugby in that. So we had a good rep team. And so, but even then, I also just playing rugby just for fun with them. And then didn't make any sort of representative teams at school or anything. So when I finished school, I just traveled for 6 months around Europe, just got like a train pass with two of my mates, and we just sort of backpacked around Europe for 6 months. And then when I got home, when I was about 19, was just playing clubs for Manly, and they had a national academy at the time. They'd abandoned each super club. They got rid of their own academies and just made like one national academy. And I made that. And then that's probably when I thought, okay, maybe I can give that a crack. And there's some good names in that as well. I think that was where I met like Will Skelton and guys like Jed Holloway, who's now playing for Waratahs. There's a few guys in that who sort of come from schoolboy teams and that. So I thought maybe that's when I'm in the mix a bit there. And that was sort of my first time really doing like proper weight training and all that sort of stuff. So proper fitness programs and really getting the body into the right shape. So I guess that's when I probably thought maybe we could be on something here and can maybe give it a good crack.
Cool. And so when you're in high school, like no look-ins with rep teams, and like why was that?
Well, I think in my early years of school, I never played. I think my first team when I was in year 7, I was selected in the first game. I was in like, teams that'd be like under 13 A's, B's, C's. I was put in like the E's or something, E's or F's. So I was quite far down. And school rugby was quite big at our school. I didn't really know. I just come from a local primary school, so I didn't know too much about the schoolboy rugby. But then, so that's when I was doing the reps as well on the Sunday with a couple of those good guys. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll probably just focus on playing club then. And I'd skipped a few school games to play for Manly, just because it was better. Because I was picked in the E's, I was like, oh, I'm not very too follow the school. And then, so then from that, I think the school got a bit put off. I ended up making my way out to about the B's or something, but I skipped a few of the games against big schools, and the school was a bit put off. So through my early school career, I was sort of floating around the B's and C's for a lot of times, and wasn't till there was just one coach. They started coaching us under 16s, and then went on to coach the first and the next year when I was in the 16s, and he sort of brought me up to the 16As and the seconds and first the next year, which is when I sort of really started actually getting some proper game time at school rugby and that. So I guess that maybe didn't have my name out there, I guess, or playing in the lower grades through school in that early doors, possibly. But there's also other good, like really good players around, like Mick Cooper was obviously in my year as well. So he's he's a great player, and he was always going to be in that sort of position, and lots of other sort of good players about. So probably a bit of combination of the both, I'd say. But I guess just wasn't to be, and I wasn't too disappointed. I guess sort of only played first in my last year, so I wasn't expecting too much. But enjoyed the last couple of years at rugby at school anyway, which is good fun.
Yeah, for sure. And then how did you find going into that academy? Like what was your body shape like before that? Were you always big, or was that when you say you started getting on weights programs and that kind of carry on? What was that like?
Yeah, I was always like a bigger frame. I was never massive. Always always quite broad in the shoulders. But yeah, I've never done any sort of like gym program or like running fitness program or anything. So I was probably just like a little bit of like that puppy fat and all that sort of stuff. I wasn't round or anything, but I wasn't lean or didn't have much muscle mass in that. Although I did, by the time I got to that, I had done my 6 months in Europe, so I was probably a bit rounder than
yeah.
than what I my normal body shape. And so yeah, I remember the first time getting in there and trying to like deadlift and bench press, and I was probably like 70 kilos, and other guys who'd done other stuff were over 100, and I thought it was amazing and all that sort of stuff. So I worked really hard in that program, and I think that's probably what led me on to playing or getting the body conditioned enough to play sort of first grade in the Sydney club comp. Just sort of having that bit of extra strength and bit of extra weight, and you sort of handle yourself a bit more when you're coming up against those sort of like 28, 30-year-olds who just sort of seasoned club players and have that real sort of man strength. You sort of see like a lot of times big kids at school will still come out, but it's just a different sort of strength when you get like a 30-year-old who's played 100 first grade games for his club, and they're not worried about a guy 18-year-old who's 115, 120 kilos as opposed to at school. So I think that program sort of just got my body right for that sort of transition.
Nice one. Yeah, it's so true you say about that man strength. Like when you're a young fella in the gym, you can be lifting all the weights during the week, but then you come up against some old lad and they just beast you.
Yeah, a couple of guys sort of lay, bricklayers or tradies or something during the week, and then have a few of the dark arts on their side when it comes to footy on the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And how did it go from there? So you're in that kind of like a national academy, and then start playing first grade men's, and were you in that academy for a couple of years, and then was it from that Sydney club comp that you got involved with the Rebels?
Yeah, so it was the club comp, they have like an under 20s, which is Colt. So I was playing that when I got back from Europe, and then from playing that I got selected in the national academy, and then that following year I was playing first grade for Manly, and then was sort of doing the academy through that as well for a bit, and then there was just a guy who was an agent for a few of the Manly players, because we have quite a few good players who come through Manly, like Cliffy Parlow and George Smith and that. So he sort of had a few of those guys as his players, and he just sort of said to me, "Do you want me to look after you if anything comes along?" I thought, sure. And sure enough, about halfway through the year, he said the Rebels are showing a bit of interest, and I was like, yeah, mate, I'm keen. So he just said keep playing well, and eventually it came to fruition, which is good. So like most, because rugby is such like a predominantly New South Wales, Queensland, a lot of the franchises would, particularly like Brumbies, Rebels and Force, would pick their players out of the Sydney competition, because that's where, particularly then, like when the franchises like Rebels and that were relatively new, that's sort of where like the strongest sort of younger rugby players were, and the competition was really strong at that stage too. So that was sort of where a lot of the scouts would go to watch players and try to pick them out of there.
And that's the Shoot Shield, is it?
And that's a Shoot Shield, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've heard a bit about that, yeah. And what was your schedule like then when you were in, say, the 20s and in the academy, or the Colts and in the academy? Like, what was the schedule like with that?
Yeah, it was pretty busy. I was doing uni at that stage as well. So I remember I was sort of doing the National Academy. It was in the mornings and in the afternoons. About would have was 6 days a week. It was morning and afternoon, and then in the off season it was Saturday morning as well. So I'd go to the gym. So like on a Monday I'd go to the gym at like 6 in the morning in at the SFS or the Aussie Stadium. So you sort of train where the Waratahs setup was at the time, and then I'd drive home, go off to uni. And then if I had a little break at uni, sometimes I was working selling or packaging sports memorabilia, just for a friend's dad, which is pretty cool. Saw some cool stuff there. And then I would go off to training in the afternoon, which is more like the rugby would be more field based sort of stuff. So that was generally sort of how the day went. And then Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, instead of National Academy training, it was the Manly Colts training or the first grade training, whatever it was at the time. But yeah, it was pretty jam packed at the schedule. I was trying to fit in there, but paid off in the end.
Yeah, for sure. And did you get a look in with the Aussie 20s around then?
No, I didn't get a look in with them at all. I didn't hear from them. I think there was an under 21s game once, maybe against England, where I was sort of maybe like not in the team, but if someone got injured, I think my name was thrown about a bit. But no, I never played any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you just were just cracking on, like kind of determined at that point. Once you got to looking with the academy, were you saying like, I'm going to give this full whack? Like,
yeah, I was giving a good go. I sort of thought, this is pretty unique opportunity and something that I thought I wanted to give it a good go and we'll just see where it goes. And I think doing that, although they never played any games, it was just training. So a lot of the focus, to be fair, was trying to play well for Manly, because that's where you sort of get scouted from. But the training and all that, and with the academy was something that was really helping me to just, like I was saying, develop my body and just different little unique skills that would work on in the afternoon. And with the coaches there, I felt really helped develop my game a bit. And I think just gave me a bit of an insight into what it's like to be, professional training and being a professional player. And just sort of gave me a bit of a taste where I was like, I'm keen for a bit more.
Nice one. And how was playing with the Rebels then when you got your look in there?
Yeah, it was unreal. My first year, there's still quite a lot of senior guys there. So we had guys like Gareth Dell, Scott Higginbotham just signed there as well, which is cool. And a couple of big names like Kirtley and James O'Connor were there, but Sterling Mortlock was still there. So walking in day one, it was you sort of seeing a few guys you used to watching on TV and your idols that you've looked up to. Probably had a few balls and that signed by them as well. And then you're in there training with them. But it was just something I tried to just take everything as it came. I had a lot to learn still. I was only 21. So yeah, it was just taking it in and just trying, hoping I'll get a bit of game time here or there, and fortunately I did.
Nice. And how was that step up from playing club and I suppose being involved in that academy to train with all those boys?
Yeah, it's just a different intensity that they're bringing every day, really. Like when you go out on the field, and a lot of those guys have had good success. So they're sort of driving high standards, and it was definitely a good learning just to sort of try to learn off them and pick their brains a bit. Gareth Dell was a great one for that. It was just something I really enjoyed and during my first year and really liked, fortunate that I got to go there at that time, really.
Nice one. And so like when you were settling, you're pretty confident in asking questions, and you weren't getting like overwhelmed or overawed or anything, really?
Probably the first sort of month or so I was a bit quiet. Normally, when I go to like a new spot, sort of just trying to get to know a few guys, and obviously they all had their their friends and that their team had been together for a couple of
Yeah,
years by then. You know, once you start playing and training with each other, and you have a few drinks on a Friday night or whatever after pre-season, and you get to know them, then yeah, it became quite a friendly bunch of lads.
nice. And then how did the move up to Ealing come about, or why'd you go after that?
So 2017, I end up, I think it's about 5 games into the season. I got a scan on my back, and I had a stress fracture in my back. And so originally it was meant to be a 6-week injury. And so I was sort of rehabbing for that, hoping I'll get a bit of game time at the back end of the season. And then got a scan after 6 weeks, and it was still there. So I sort of tapered back my rehab a bit for another 4 weeks, and then that sort of kept getting scanned every month, and it was still there. So and that sort of carried on for 6 months. And I was coming off contract at the end of 2017. So I had a few, yeah, so I was out for about 5 months of that period, 6 months, just sort of waiting for that to clear. And then my contract was running up at the Rebels. And then that was at the point too where the Force got cut from the Super Rugby.
Yeah.
So there was a big crop of players that were sort of left there that were coming into the other teams. So I sort of got forced out there off contract. And then I stayed down there the next year doing a bit of rehab, doing a bit of work for the club, bit of community engagement sort of stuff, just training, just trying to get back fit again. And then by about, I think it was April the next year, so it'd been about 12 months. My manager said there's a club in London called Ealing in the Championship that sort of want to talk to you and are keen to, if you're fit to play, they'd be keen to sign you. So I said yes. So I had a Zoom call with them, like the sound of it. And I was tossing up at that time. I think it was the ICM team or two, Tasman and Bay of Plenty, that I was also had shown a bit of interest. So trying to decide which sort of way I wanted to go, and I really had a desire to play in the UK, and so I thought it was a good way to get the foot in the door. And my partner, she was all for it to come over to London, and so that's sort of how that started, really.
Wow, yeah, I didn't know about that back issue. And so if I'm doing the maths, you were what, 25, 26 when that was happening?
26, yeah.
And
25, 10, 26, yeah, that year.
yeah. And yeah, that must have been a bit of a kick in the teeth. Like you were getting you're kind of looking with the Rebels and playing a bit, and then all of a sudden you're like out of contract and just like kind of cut.
Yeah, it was a tough period. I was because I think it was about October that year. My agent was sort of saying, I think it was Claremont and I think Edinburgh. It was Edinburgh or Glasgow. I can't remember. He said they're both keen if you're good to go now. And I was like, I can't. Like I haven't. I'm still showing up for that stress fracture, so I still missed out on those opportunities at the back end of the year. And then yeah, I think it was just at the end of the year that just the way it was just unfortunate, I guess, with the team getting cut. And then
Yeah.
we had Dave Wessels was the Force coach at the time. He then came to coach the Rebels, and he brought a lot of the players with him, and just sort of there wasn't enough room. So they said I still had a bit of rehab to do, so I sort of just chatted to them about I need to finish off my rehab just to get me ready to play again in case an opportunity comes up. So they sort of just had me doing a bit of work around the club in 2018, doing some involvement with the different schools and different clubs there, and trying to just do a bit of community engagement, and I'll do my rehab as well on the side, through one of the club physios and trainers, and unfortunately sort of got it all right to go and fix me up. So it was good to take the opportunity at Ealing when it popped up.
Nice one. And that can be tough, like opportunities like passing you by, like you say Claremont and then the two Scottish teams. And how were you during that period? Like, because you're just seeing these like big opportunities pass by and you can't take them, and then you're out of contract and you're just hoping.
Yeah. I mean, it was it's sort of frustration at the time, because you sort of you want to, obviously like I said, the great clubs, and I wanted to try and get my way over to the UK, and then you sort of thinking, maybe that was my chance, and I won't get another one. So it's definitely, you don't sort of lose hope or anything, but I was sort of, feeling maybe this might not get another chance again to keep playing. So I was sort of quite happy once I started my rehab, just sort of thinking if I could get back playing, even if it was at Manly, maybe I might pick up a gig somewhere else in Oz or whatever. And so I was, it definitely took a toll on your drive to sort of keep going a bit, but I sort of thought, had a bit of self-belief there that if I could get my body right, another opportunity will come.
Nice one. Yeah, so that's why then once, because I was looking at it when you're playing with the Rebels and playing with Ealing, and then you go to Gloucester and you're in teams of the week, man the match all the time. So I was wondering like why you didn't kind of like go straight to a Prem club or something, and but that makes sense.
It's tough, like you sort of, because you're not playing, and when you're out for extended period like that, it's teams want to see you playing and make sure your body's right. So you miss a few. It makes it hard to sort of sign off the back of, or get a convince the club that you're still that same player when you haven't played for 12 months. So I was just sort of fortunate it did turn around in my way, I guess.
Yeah, good stuff. And how was the champ? And then what was how did you find the step of then going from the championship to Gloucester, say like physicality or skill wise?
Yeah, so the champ, I didn't know anything about it really, to be honest with you. I sort of all the premiership and the clubs, and hearing the players going over there, but you didn't hear you didn't really see anything of the champ back home. So it was a bit of an unknown for me. I called Max Heath, because he used to play in Melbourne, so I was good friends with him, and sort of just asked him, is it worth something me taking a chance on, and do you know much about Ealing? And he said, yeah, mate, it's a good club, and lots of people can get picked up out of that into Prem clubs. So my goal was to try to get back into the Premiership. So then when I got there, I sort of had like a little bit of background on it. So I was quite surprised with it, especially with Ealing, and where they want to try and get to, the setup they have there, and the coaching staff and all that sort of stuff. They run it like a Premiership club, and I guess the big discrepancy you sort of realise is you've probably got the top 4 or 5 teams where you got guys paid full time and playing full time, and then you got other clubs where, like Richmond, where guys are going to work during the week. And I guess the discrepancy between the top and the bottom was probably the difference. Then when you step into the Prem, and it doesn't matter if they're last on the table or first on the table, you're getting against quality players. Look at Bath, I've got 6 guys in the England squad, so as opposed to, you probably had a bit more of the up and down through the champ of different quality, which is probably the big difference, I'd say. It's just getting that week in, week out, sort of that battle hardened and you got to be on each week really when you're up at the Prem.
Yeah. And how did the opportunity come about? Was it kind of pretty quickly after full season or so, then Gloucester had a look?
Yeah, so being at Ealing, I've been there for a year and a half,
Yeah.
and I just got re-signed with Ealing actually. I did a year there. I re-signed for my second year, and the Rebels actually the Dave Russell was the coach. He actually called me up and asked me if I wanted to come back home. And I said, I'll think about it. But I said to the Ealing coach, I said, look, if he calls, just say you don't want to release me or anything, because I wanted to stay and try and make a Prem team. So that was quite ironic actually. And then
Yeah.
and then I was about to re-sign for my third year at Ealing, because my manager here, he'd even spoken to Gloucester as well. I think it was Dave Humphries at the time. Maybe he's not there anymore and hasn't been there since I've been there. And he said, yeah, we're pretty full down at Gloucester. So I was like, okay. He spoke to a few other clubs as well, and they said, look, because I was an international player as well, I wasn't EQP, so I was like, no, we can't take him. And then I'm not sure how Johan saw me. He was the coach at Gloucester at the time. I don't know how he saw me playing for Ealing, whether he saw a game or something. I'm not too sure, but he spoke to my manager and said, I want to speak to him, because he'd seen me when he was coaching the Lions. I played the Lions a couple of times, and he recognised me. And so he called my manager and set up a meeting, and then I went down and met with him. He said, look, I want you down here, and we'll make it work. So I was literally about to re-sign with Ealing that week, and I said, I'll just hold the. Oh, sorry, I lost you. I said, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, sorry, I lost you. Anyway, I was about to re-sign with Ealing that week, and I said, I'll hold the phone. I'll go meet with Johan, and then that's how that sort of came on. I liked the sound of it, and ended up signing with Gloucester.
Nice one. And how are you finding Gloucester? It seems to be all going pretty well there. How are you enjoying the club?
Yeah, loving it. It was quite obviously when I first got here, it was COVID, so we started training, and it was all just social distance, no ball work or anything. So I guess the first sort of couple of months was tough to sort of get to mingle and meet everyone and all that sort of stuff, because all the restaurants or cafes and that were shut and all that. And then we still had that restart of the back end of when I came down. There's about 9 games in about 6 weeks to finish off that 2020 season it was, which kind of was a bit of a blessing for me, because with like the midweek games and that, they're always going to rotate the squad a bit. So I managed to get a bit of game time in that sort of 9-week block, and I guess that sort of helped me sort of show what I could do a little bit, and then sort of led on to the next year where I ended up getting a bit more game time, and then this year as well. So I guess that sort of timing actually worked out all right for myself, particularly with the changeover of coach, with kids coming in and probably not knowing much about me. That kind of probably helped me show them a bit more of what I could do on the field with those little 9 games in 6 weeks block at the end of COVID.
Nice one. And how have you found or has there been any like difference in, say, coaching or setup in the UK versus Oz? Just because, like, different styles of play and different. I grew up in Ireland, and here it's a lot more structured and stuff. Or how have you found that?
Yeah, I think I mean, definitely with us, you can probably tell with the way, especially first sort of 3/4 of the season, with the way our maul was going. We do a lot of mauling at Gloucester, which I wasn't as used to back home. It wasn't as a bigger focus, but I think that's sort of the perception is probably more kicking in that over here, which there might be, but I think each team sort of has their own way of playing, and I think over here now you're seeing a lot more like ball movement. You see teams like Quins or Even London Irish, they throw the ball around a lot. Saints, I think there's not really too much difference. Like some teams you come up against, Exeter, they have their style, which is they'll grind you down. Saints and Quins, they throw the ball around a lot. So I think there's quite a mix over here of the style you're coming up against. But training wise, I think relatively similar. Probably a bit more off the cuff stuff when I was back home. Sort of play what you see, don't and throw it around a bit more. But I think like now in sort of today's game, you see a lot of that over here too. I think with us too, now we've got that artificial turf. You got the same field all year round.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get to December and it's muddy and squashy, so it's just pick and go and scrum and maul. You're able to actually play a pretty attacking brand of rugby even in those winter months. So I think that probably helps a bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. That is true. It is kind of all becoming a bit similar versus 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it seems to be good environment there in Gloucester. Like the last, maybe just before you joined, but you were lower down, Gloucester were lower down, and is a good bunch of lads, good kind of culture there in the club.
Yeah, great culture at the club. There's a really sort of strong leadership group there with guys who've been around quite a while, like Mark Atkinson, lads obviously, Chris Harris and Ruan Ackerman. There's quite a few guys there that sort of set a really good culture, standard training, and obviously a great laugh off the field as well. And it's just quite an inclusive club where everyone down here lives in pretty close sort of area, either Cheltenham or Gloucester, which is probably about 20 minutes apart. So everyone's sort of hanging out with each other outside of the training park as well, which obviously only helps build the on-field sort of chemistry and bond, I guess. And it's just an environment that I've really enjoyed being about, and I think it's quite just quite an enjoyable time both on and off the field here.
Nice one. And
obviously the results help as well. I think last year when we were struggling a bit, it's a bit harder, it's a bit grimmer at training, but then when you're going well, it's obviously a bit more bounce and step around training as well. So I guess that also adds to it.
Yeah, 100%. It's like one feeds into the other. You get a few wins and everyone's happy, everyone's bouncing around, and it just keeps feeding into each other. Yeah,
things start to go your way, and I mean, you see, we lost a few games last year by a try. I think we lost 7 by like 7 games or 8 games by less than a try, or a few last minute tries. And then this year we've won a few, and all of a sudden, it's an extra 7 wins, and if it's a bounce of the ball or a missed tackle or whatever can lead to winning or losing a game, and that's it really. So I guess that's the difference between where you sit in the ladder, and I guess which leads to a bit of that sort of momentum you build, and obviously the extra bounce people get around the confidence and the bounce you have around training and the club.
Yeah, and it's mad how with kind of evolution of teams, sometimes you have those seasons where you kind of know you're losing by a few points kind of a lot, and you kind of know that there's something happening, don't you, and that you're going to turn a corner.
Yeah, we did, even though we were losing last year, we did have that feeling around us that and like that belief in the team that we're just there, like we're not far off. We need to obviously tighten up a few parts of the game with a few loose penalties which are leading to a kick at the end to win, or I think just that sort of clinical sort ofness to finish off the game. And I guess once you get one, this year we sort of, once you close out a tight game, then that sort of leads into the next one where you don't get as tight towards the back end of the game, or I guess that pressure of having to win. You've lost 6 or 7 in a row. You're sort of feeling that pressure towards the end of the game. You need to win one, whereas now you've won a couple, you sort of have that confidence towards the end of the game rather than feeling pressure, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned that like hanging out with the lads away from training, or what kind of stuff? Would you be in the club, or is that like going off and having a coffee, or what's that like?
Yeah, you go go play cards and have coffee and do a Monopoly deal, or be myself and Mark Atkinson. We just bought a bull set, so we've been down the park a bit playing some bulls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, down there, and I've just got a young 7-month-old now and 7-month-old son, and there's a few guys at the club with young kids, so we'll sort of catch up and the kids will play out and the kids will play together or sort of just look at each other really at that age. But and the partners will hang out and have a chat as well. So it's quite nice that it's quite a family sort of feel to it as well, where the partners are involved, the kids get involved, and yeah, it's quite a nice environment.
Nice one, good stuff. And going back, you mentioned like you were a foreign player going when you went over to England or whatever and classifies that, and you said your old man is Kiwi. What? So there's a lot of talk of you should be in the England squad or whatever in the media, but so what's your heritage, and is it England through residency that you're qualified?
Nah, so what now?
Yeah, what's your heritage?
So I'm Aussie. I was born in Oz. My mum's Australian. I was born in Sydney, but my dad's from Christchurch in New Zealand. And then so when I came over here, I was on like a special. There's like a new visa the year I signed a dealing. That there's a new visa that where if you've played, I think it was like 75% of your Super Rugby games within the last 24 months, then you could get this visa to come live over here and play. So even though I had my back injury, if you could prove you would have been playing without the injury, if you hadn't been injured, then you would have kept playing. They'd sort of count those games. So that was how I got the visa to get over here to start with, and then yeah, just through 3 years of being over here, that's when I qualified for EQP. I wasn't actually at the time. Originally when I came, I thought it was 5 years, but then I was speaking to our team manager, and he said it changed through COVID or something happened and changed back to 3. So then I was like, yeah, if that's the case. We did the paperwork and it was all clear, and so yeah, got the EQP. So yeah, it turned out pretty well.
Good stuff. And I gather as well, seeing some other things, that you're pretty chilled and laid back off the field. And how what would be some things, because I know it's like a lot of people players stress, but what would be some things or is that, first off, is that the case? Like, are you?
Try to be, I guess. Yeah, try to be. Obviously, I guess coming into games, I'm always a bit more stressed. I guess I probably hide it a bit better than others. Maybe that's how. But yeah, I try to sort of switch off when I'm at home, and now I've got my son. He obviously distracts me quite a bit, so I guess that helps a bit as well.
Yeah. And what kind of stress would you have like coming into games?
Yeah, just like the main ones, just sort of fear of losing or playing bad. Really, like particularly, I'm normally all right. We do captain's run Friday. The Saturday morning, I just get the butterflies in the stomach, and that sort of like the morning of the game is probably my least favorite day of the week, because I just sort of, you sort of build it up in your head a bit, particularly if it's a big game, and or even if it's like a game you're expected to win or whatever. That's probably when I'm more nervous, because you sort of, all right, we need to win this one because they don't expect you to win. And then once I get to the game, once I'm on the field, it goes away and I'm all good, and I'm sort of just in the zone, and it's go time. But it's that morning of the game where I just sort of get a bit of the nerves and a bit anxious, and so I think I've sort of had to just try to have the mindset now so this last 6 months, and just trying to enjoy the moment, because at 30 now, 31 this year, I might not have. I don't have, I've got shorter in my career than I've got less to go than what I do, than what I would when I was younger. So I sort of just trying to enjoy it and enjoy actually game day, and don't get too panicked about the result. Just sort of, if if you sort of just trust what you've done through the week and all that, then it should be all right on the weekend, hopefully.
Yeah. And it's funny, like literally every player gets those nerves, or, no matter what level,
Yeah.
I think, or,
Yeah.
chance
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
ball.
I think it's just like that expectation you have on yourself, I guess. If we went back and played for Manly now, I'd still probably be nervous in the morning because you expect to play well, and people would want you to play well. So I guess that's just sort of what you
Yeah.
sort of want
And have you
you to
found,
perform. You know?
yeah, when you say like enjoy it like 100%, that's huge and very important. Like, have you started to enjoy the pre-match, like those butterflies, or have you been able to kind of switch the mindset to kind of start enjoying a little bit more of the stuff before games that in the past you might have been like wound up, or
Yeah, I
not?
think I still get the butterflies and the
Yeah,
nerves. I think that's just
that's just
just
normal.
that tough one to control because it's just sort of it's just you want to play well and do the fans proud and the coach proud and all that. But I mean, definitely through the week now and at training, it's particularly right up until Friday, I'm definitely a lot more calmer and I'm not focusing on the game as much Monday to Friday. Just more of the preparation and the process and worry about the outcome of the game when we get to that. Which I think helps a lot to stay calm during the week because I think you don't want to burn too much energy thinking too much about something 5 days in advance because then you might lose focus on what we're practicing at training. So I think that's sort of probably one of the changes that I've noticed a bit just in myself and I guess probably being a bit older now and having played for almost 10 years now since I was at the Rebels, or 9 years. I guess just a bit more experience in it. It's just sort of I don't want to say you're not as, I guess you're just a bit more comfortable or confident in your ability than what you are as a 21 or 22-year-old.
Mm. And what's been the best period of your career playing, do you feel, looking back?
As in like the best I've
Yeah,
played.
well, yeah. When did you think, oh, I was balling then, or I was playing? That was when I was playing best.
Probably say either this season was one of the better ones, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just I guess when you start getting that week in, week out game time as well, you build a few combinations. And I would probably say I think it was about my third year in Melbourne. I started getting had a few good games there. I sort of hadn't started the first sort of 5 or 6 games, and I came on against the Blues, and then we sort of beat the Blues, beat the Chiefs, and had a good run of games there. So it's probably those sort of 2 periods, probably my best sort of 2 seasons of rugby, I'd say.
Yeah. And what do you think this year, like, is there anything you think that has helped you? Like, it looks like, yeah, couldn't really remember too much about back in the Rebels, but like it looks like just, yeah, smashing it this year. Like, is there anything in particular that has helped you?
I guess I just want to prove myself. I've been, I can play at the standard, and I think just I've tried to really focus a lot on my preparation and like the small things, bit of stretching, getting a bit more physio, just getting that rehab sort of stuff and all that. We had a really tough preseason, which I think really got my cardio and my fitness and all that up to probably the best it's been. And I think that's probably helped me, particularly with the longevity of the seasons over here, because you're used to playing 15 games back home, whereas here you sort of play, within Europe and the Prem Cup and all the different competitions. It's almost double that by the time we get to, or it is double that by the time we get to the end. So I just wanted to focus a lot on getting my body right so that I could withstand the whole season. And I think in the process of doing that, it just sort of helped me on the field with being able to try to stay explosive throughout the game as opposed to running out of steam, at the 50, 60 minutes sort of mark.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time. I just have two more questions, but
That's fine.
first up, what would you say to your 18-year-old self, the fella who hadn't made the academy quite yet, but was a keen rugby player?
Ooh. What would I say? Just go with your gut instinct, really. I think if you want to, I sort of found like when I was when I first signed, and I was sort of probably trying to play, you're trying to do different sort of stuff to please the coaching staff, I guess, on the field, and I guess I just thought, I think I remember it's probably a bit into my career, I was just thinking, mate, just do what got you signed in the first place, and what you're good at, and be really good at what you're good at, and then try to develop little techniques and critique your game, and add little strings to your bow as you go. But I think when you're on the field and playing, do what got you there in the first place, because that's what got you there, and that leads to probably why you might get on to do bigger and better things, and what makes you play your best game, I guess, is that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So did you kind of clock that during your career, that it's like you're not going to be this other flanker, like you're good at what you're good at, and just be brilliant at that, and don't be worrying about throwing 20-meter skip passes off your weekend.
I think as game plans change and that, and I guess positions develop into having different skills, and you want to go with the times as well and develop skills. But I guess the forefront of my mind is what got me there in the first place, is tackling hard and carrying hard, and work and good work rate. And I think that have that underpinning everything for me personally, and then develop a bit of passing, bit of little tips and offloads and that. But I don't have to go out there and try to be Sonny Bill Williams or anything like that, because it's not what is my biggest strength.
Nice one. And how far into the future do you look, say, with like planning, like, oh, I want to do this or that or the other, or do you look into the future, or how do you go about that kind
of? Obviously, with like we've got one more season at Gloucester, you sort of loosely, I guess, living overseas, we talk about, are we comfortable, opportunities come up, what would we sort of think? Would we go back home? Are we happy living here? And you sort of have those sort of conversations with my partner. But they're not really too much at the forefront of the mind. I just sort of try to focus mostly in the moment, and I guess the rest sort of just takes care of itself, really, because there's no point planning post next season, because if we have a terrible season, nothing's really going to come up anyway. So I just try to stay in the now, and focus on what I can control, and as I say, control the controllables, and hopefully the rest will take care of itself, and play well enough next year, and hopefully have the fortune of staying in Gloucester, or but I guess that all that sort of stuff's just out of my control, outside of playing well, really.
Yeah. And how have you found moving abroad and kind of living abroad and getting set up and all that?
Yeah. I mean, going to London, I guess, good thing about Ealing is was an easy sell to my partner, going to West London as opposed to
the middle of nowhere.
I don't bag mouth anything, but if it was going to Cornwall or Jersey, where you're sort of you're a bit far away from everyone. Particularly London, there's so many Aussies over there. My sister was living there, so it wasn't too much of a transition, and it's different if you're going to France. You don't even know the language, whereas at least you could sort of make friends, you could work, and partner could work, and it was just really exciting. I think we were just 26, 27 at the time, and going to the other side of the world, and you got Europe on your doorstep, where we tried to do a little bit of travel in the time off. So it was just it was something we were both quite excited for.
Good stuff. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed chatting, and yeah, best of luck with everything going forward at Gloucester.
Cheers, Brian. I appreciate it, mate.